Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I wanted to make a video for World Mental Health Day, and each year when they have like World Mental Health Day they have a sort of focus, and this year it is on suicide prevention. So I wanted to make a video around that, around my experiences of being suicidal or suicide, and yeah, just to talk a little bit about suicide prevention. I need to start this video with a trigger warning, although I will do my best to be as careful with my words as possible. Obviously it's a very sensitive subject, and if you feel that you're not in the right place to be listening to something about suicide, then it might not be a good idea to watch this at the moment. But yeah, so World Mental Health Day is on the 10th of October, and as I said, the focus this year is on suicide prevention. I've just got a little bit of research that I was going to read you. Sorry if I look at my phone, I just want to make sure that I get this right. But basically in the UK, suicide rate seems to have risen for the first time since 2013, according to figures from the Office of National Statistics. Men in their late 40s are at especially high risk, and also women in that age group are also relatively high risk as well. And then among 10 to 24-year-old girls and women, there's also been a sharp rise in people taking their own lives. And yeah, I guess, I mean, they don't know exactly why these things happen. I think there's a lot of research that goes on to understand why figures are going up, but I don't really want to go into that in this video because that's not what I'm here to talk about. I thought I would start off by talking about my experiences, like from me, of being suicidal and from attempting suicide, and also losing friends to suicide. So if you don't know, if you haven't watched my videos before, I have had problems with my mental health since I was about 15, possibly before, but that was kind of when they first started to really become apparent. I was very, very depressed. I was struggling with eating disorders, and over the years I've been through various diagnoses and had varying degrees of success with mental health services. But I have had times when I have felt very, very suicidal. And when you start getting those thoughts initially, I guess it doesn't really matter what age you are, but especially when you're younger, I suppose, they're like really scary thoughts. All of a sudden your brain is thinking of these things that you may have not thought about before, and they can be incredibly overwhelming and really, really hard to deal with. And I know certainly for me, when I first started getting them, I didn't know who to talk to. I was really worried about speaking to like family and friends because I didn't want to kind of feel like I was burdening them or worrying them with things. I didn't really want to speak to any kind of mental health professional about it because I was worried about what might happen if I started saying these things. So you end up kind of, yeah, just holding on to all this stuff and trying to deal with it on your own. And I have made a few suicide attempts. I can't actually remember how many, it's been a few. And yeah, it's just a really, really dark place to be in. I don't want to go into kind of details of, you know, my attempts or anything like that because I don't think that's necessary, but yeah, it's a horrible place to be in when you feel that there is no other way to get away from the pain that you're feeling. You know, the only way you can see a way out is to take your own life, and yeah, it's not nice. It's not nice for you, it's not nice for the people around you to know that that's where you've got to and that's how bad you're feeling. And I've had varying amounts of support from the medical profession when I have had these suicide attempts. I feel like that is maybe another story for another day. But yeah, it's horrible. It's a horrible, horrible place to be in, and I would just urge anybody that is feeling that way to try and find somebody to talk to. I know it's not easy, and it's taken me a long time to be able to open up about these feelings of just complete hopelessness, complete just not wanting to go on anymore. But I feel like I'm at a bit of a better point now where when I get these thoughts and feelings, I can be a bit more open about them. I think the worst thing is to just keep them to yourself, and yeah, it's horrible having to deal with all of that on your own. As I said, I have also lost a few friends to suicide, and it's a difficult position to be in, especially when, like, because I have tried to take my own life before. I feel, I don't know, maybe I feel a bit differently when I've actually gone and lost friends to the same thing, because I know how it feels to be in that situation. So I don't know if I can see it from a slightly different point of view to someone who maybe hasn't felt suicidal before. But again, that is a horrible position to be in, to have to lose somebody to something that essentially should have been preventable. You get all these feelings of guilt because you want to think that they would have been able to come to you because they were feeling that bad, and knowing that they weren't able to talk to you makes it really difficult and makes you feel guilty for not being able to help them or for not seeing the signs. And yeah, it's just, I don't know, like, because I've lost people not to suicide, to illness and things like that, and it's a very different experience to lose somebody to suicide than it is to lose somebody to like a physical illness or an accident or something like that. Because I don't know, I felt a lot more guilty. I put a lot more blame on myself because I thought I could have done more. And it's just, I don't know, yeah, it's a really, really sad situation, and I still think about those friends a lot. And just wish that I had been able to spot that they were in such a bad place, especially because I've been in that place before. I feel like I should have been able to see it, and I didn't. So yeah, that just almost makes it worse. And yeah, I think about them a lot, and I feel for anybody that has lost somebody to suicide. So when it comes to suicide and suicide prevention, obviously investing more in NHS mental health services would be amazing, but I don't think it's enough, and a lot of charities don't think it's enough to start, reducing the number of people that are taking their own lives. It's only one small part of that kind of prevention. Preventing suicide needs to come almost before that person hits a crisis point. Once a person has got to being that low and in that much pain and in that much of a crisis, it becomes a lot harder to help them, and that's when they do need professional help. But there are things that can be done like way before that happens, when someone is first starting to kind of express that they maybe are struggling with their mental health, or they're feeling very down or hopeless. And the prevention can come from schools, from workplaces, from family and friends, local community groups, and from GPs as well. So it's like everybody needs to be doing stuff to help prevent suicide. So I thought I would just talk a little bit about what we can do to help prevent suicide. A lot of this, I've done some research from like mental health charities, because I want to make sure that I'm giving good advice. Obviously I can talk about my experiences and what would have helped me, but I also think it's important that I did a bit of research just to kind of make sure I'm, getting professionals' ideas as well. And obviously I need to say that I'm not a medical professional. I'm talking from someone who has been suicidal, attempted suicide, and lost people to suicide. But I'm also talking as someone who's done a bit of research and looked at mental health charities and what they say. So I just wanted to kind of, give a few bits of advice on things people can do to just try and help prevent this rise in suicides. So the first thing that I wanted to mention is an acronym called WAIT. And it's something that quite a few mental health charities promote as a way of how you can support someone who might be suicidal. So The W stands for watch out for signs of distress and uncharacteristic behaviour. So when someone is suicidal, quite often people will be able to see that from their behaviour and the way they are conducting themselves. Obviously it's going to depend on how well you know that person, but if someone's becoming really withdrawn, if they're very quiet, if they're irritable, if they have really uncharacteristic outbursts, if they talk about death and suicide. A lot of people seem to think that if someone is talking about being suicidal, that it means that they're not going to kind of go through with those actions related to those thoughts, and in reality that isn't true. Just because someone's talking about it doesn't mean that they're necessarily not going to do it. So, you know, if someone is talking about it, that is definitely a big warning sign. Also, if someone's putting sort of plans in place, if they're sorting out their affairs, making a will, giving things away, things like that. And also if they're saying goodbye to people as if they kind of aren't going to see them again. These are all kind of warning signs that you can look out for, that someone might be feeling suicidal. Then the A in the acronym stands for, are you having suicidal thoughts? And ask them that. Again, people think that if you ask somebody about suicide and suicidal thoughts, that you're going to give them ideas, that you're going to encourage them to go through with it, when in actual fact that is rarely true. Actually, asking somebody directly, are you feeling suicidal, can get a conversation started, and that conversation can mean the difference between life and death. You know, that person may have been really struggling with these suicidal thoughts but not knowing how to express that, and for somebody to then just say, are you feeling suicidal, is like an opening for them to actually start talking and to say, yes I am, like please, I need some help. So please don't be afraid to ask somebody. If you're worried that they might be feeling suicidal, don't be afraid to ask them if that's the case. Then the I in the acronym stands for it will pass. So try and assure them that in time, with some help, that these feelings can pass, that they don't have to be forever. When you feel suicidal, it's really difficult to see things ever getting better. And I know when I've been in that position, you just feel like this is it. This is what my life is going to be like forever. And having someone just say to you, I know how bad you're feeling at the moment, I'm not dismissing that at all, I'm not belittling how you feel, but I want to offer you some hope and say that you know, things can get better slowly. It will take time, you might need help with it, but this doesn't have to be forever. And sometimes, because you haven't got that hope yourself, someone else just holding on to that hope for you can be a really powerful thing. So obviously, yeah, don't dismiss what they're feeling, don't kind of belittle it or anything, but just try and reassure them that it can pass, that it's not going to be like this forever, and that you're going to support them with that to get through it. And then the T stands for talk to others. So although you might want to really help to support someone with their suicidal thoughts and feelings, it's a massive job to take on your own, especially if you aren't sort of medically trained or anything like that. So it's really important to try and help that person seek professional help, whether that's from a GP, whether they need to go straight to A&E, or from like a charity like the Samaritans or Mind. It's really important to just try and get them to talk to somebody who knows what they're doing, who has dealt with people who are suicidal before, and to take some of that pressure off you as well. That doesn't mean you need to stop supporting them, because they're still going to need you there. But it just means that it's not all falling down to you, and that, you know, they are getting the professional help they need as well. And they might be, you know, quite hesitant to get that support at first. I know I didn't want anyone to help me, but just try and support them to do what they feel comfortable with. So maybe they don't want to go to their GP straight away, but maybe they would contact a charity, because that feels a little bit less threatening sometimes. But just, you know, keep kind of encouraging them to try and get that sort of professional support, because at the end of the day, I think that's what you generally need. And yeah, it won't all fall down to you. It's really important that they are getting that support from somebody else as well. So apart from that acronym, which I guess encompasses quite a lot of what you can do to support someone, it can also be really helpful to ask someone twice how they're feeling. I think we're all very, very good at, you know, someone comes and just says, oh, hi, how are you? And your initial response is, oh yeah, I'm fine. Even if you're really not fine, we all do it. It's a kind of, you know, automatic response that we come out with, just saying we're fine. And I think it can be really helpful if you're sort of concerned that somebody isn't fine and they've come out and said, yeah, I'm all right, you know, to then say again, how are you really? You know, are you sure you're okay? And that might be enough to just get them to actually stop and think and not give that automatic response, and to actually be like, oh, okay, this person actually does care about how I really am. And then they're able to start a conversation and get into maybe talking about what is really sort of going on for them. So yeah, just ask twice. They might think you're a bit weird to start with, but if it gets that conversation going, that could be a life-saving conversation, then it's a great thing to do. So a lot of people worry, like if someone starts to talk to them about feeling suicidal, you kind of think, what on earth do I do? This is massive, this is a lot for me to take on. And actually the best thing that you can do for that person generally is to just sit and listen, let them speak and get these things off their chest, and just listen to what they're saying. They might ask you questions, they might, you know, need a little bit of a response from you, but I don't think generally they're expecting you to, you know, solve all their problems all at once. A lot of the time, I know for me, I just wanted someone to listen to me and to hear what I was saying and to hear how bad I was feeling. So, you know, don't feel like you have to go in there and solve everything. The best thing you can do to start with for a person that might be feeling suicidal is to just listen to what they say, be there for them, and be a supportive, supportive listening ear, because they may not have had that before, and that would be the first step in them, you know, starting to recover from what they're struggling with. I would also say, when you are listening to a person, try not to pass judgment on what they're saying, even if you maybe don't agree with what they're saying. If they maybe say that they don't feel like they have anything to live for, don't start trying to convince them that they have so much to live for. Don't start arguing with them. Don't try and guilt trip them into not going through with, you know, hurting themselves or committing suicide. Sorry, that was the wrong terminology. That's just another thing. Committing suicide, I shouldn't have said it, because it's not, I don't think it's a very good way of talking about suicide. It makes it sound like you're doing something wrong. So people now tend to use sort of like dying by suicide or taking their own life or something like that. So I do apologise for that. I'm still learning, and it's still stuff that comes out. But yeah, you know, don't try and make them feel guilty for wanting to die. You know, don't start saying, oh, you know, you'll hurt all these people, because they're already going to be feeling really bad, and the last thing they need is for somebody to make them feel worse. So it can be difficult, but just try to listen without any judgment. Just let them say what they need to say, and, you know, just say that, yes, I'm here, I'm listening to you, I hear what you're saying, and I'm here to support you. It's also really important from the outset to not promise confidentiality. The person might say to you, oh, you know, please don't tell anyone about this, but it's just not something that you can promise. In a situation like this, which could be a life or death situation, the last thing that you need to be doing is promising to keep it to yourself. If you are really, really worried that that person is in danger, then you need to be talking to somebody else, whether it's, you know, a family member, or whether it's their doctor, or whether it's, you know, calling the police if they're really bad and they need like immediate help, or whether it's taking them to A&E. Just don't promise to keep it a secret, because that's a lot of pressure to put on you, and that's someone's life at stake. So they need to know from the outset that you cannot keep what they're saying to yourself. It might upset them, but if you look at the bigger picture, you're looking out for their life, basically. So yeah, just don't promise to keep things to yourself. And then the last thing that I would say is just make sure that you're looking after your own mental health as well. Helping someone who is suicidal is a massive thing. It's a lot to take on, and it's an amazing thing to do, but it can affect you as well. So make sure you're looking after yourself as well. You know, if you need to call the Samaritans, if you need to speak to someone like mine, if you need to go to your GP and say, look, I've been supporting this person, but I'm really struggling with it. Make sure that you kind of are keeping an eye on your own mental health and looking after yourself, because the last thing you need is to have like put all your energy into that person only to make you like unwell as well. So yes, although it's amazing to support somebody and to try and help prevent suicide, it's also just incredibly important to look after yourself and to make sure that you are staying well when you're trying to help this other person. So I will make sure that I put some helplines and websites and all that kind of stuff in the description bar, so that if you have been affected by what I've been talking about and you need a bit of support, hopefully there will be something there that you can access to get that support. I hope that you have found this video helpful and informative, and that it might just help raise awareness of preventing suicide and what we can all be doing to kind of help other people. If you have enjoyed it and you'd like to see more videos from me, please give me a like and subscribe to my channel. Leave me a comment as well. Let me know, you know, what you have thought about the things that I've been saying. Obviously be careful with anything that you write. Try not to put anything that's going to be too triggering to other people, but I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts on all of this. And yeah, also let me know if there's any other videos you would like to see me do, whether they're mental health related or anything else. Do let me know, and I'll see you in another video very soon. Bye.